There have been reports that the Prime Minister has met with corporate leaders whose firms are actively engaged with government. Would you consider those kind of meetings the type that would raise transparency concerns with your office with respect to lobbying?
Well, according to the Lobbying Act, every meeting that occurs between corporations about topics that are registrable, so whether it's about policies, programs, financial benefits, would be a registrable subject matter. Obviously, it depends if they meet currently the 32-hour threshold. But yes, if the topics are registrable according to the Act, they would need to be registered.
So all of those meetings, there was, for example, media reports late last week. I think there was a list of individuals from organizations who'd met with the Prime Minister. Those would all be registrable meetings. They
would be registrable if they meet the threshold,
which is currently
32 hours, but it's changing in January.
In January. So you've said previously that transparency is the foundation for public trust. When someone with substantial private holdings provides policy advice to government, to cabinet, but they're paid to do it, is that still lobbying in spirit, even if it's not contrary to the law?
Well, if I understand the correction correctly, if someone is paid to lobby, then that's a registrable subject matter. But I didn't fully understand the last part. But it would be not in spirit. I'm not sure. So if someone is being paid to lobby, and it's about policy development, that's a registrable subject matter. Yes.
If someone is an executive with an organization, they have substantial they have substantial financial holdings in addition to their corporate role, but are brought in to advise government in a non-paid advisory role. Is that not a violation in spirit of what we're trying to do with the Act?
Well, currently the Lobbying Act requires payment. And that will be one topic I will love to discuss with you during legislative review. In Yukon, they've added the concept of directing mind, where they do not require payment. And so that is definitely something I will want to discuss. But if somebody's not getting paid to provide the advice, the Act does not apply currently. Yes.
Yeah, it's a loophole. We've seen this here where in Mr. Trudeau's government, where they would bring in individuals from the private sector and ask them to advise cabinet, and these individuals are executives with global everything companies, and they're able to give this advice. They're not registered meetings, but they have these private interests that, of course, are going to be reflected in the advice they provide, and Canadians are completely in the dark about that. It's with chairmen and chief executives, and they claimed then that it was of high service to Canada, but certainly it also creates a real problem for Canadians about why the advice is being provided.
Well, of course, I'm a great believer in transparency. Currently, the scenario that you're giving me is not covered under the Lobbying Act, and I think that's something that does need to be looked at.
Do you think that the Act in its current form captures influence peddling when you have unpaid individuals?
If you're unpaid, the Lobbying Act doesn't cover it.
So
currently.
It's a class of shadow lobbyists.
If you want to give names to it, but I'm not in that business. So if I'm just telling you the Lobbying Act does not apply currently, and so it should be transparent. And I do believe if there's payment involved, then it should be. But if there is absolutely no payment, it's a requirement now under the Lobbying Act. So
this is the situation that we have with pardon me for the interruption, that we have with these meetings that were listed. These CEOs, of course, are not going to be registered to lobby. They're not going to have been paid to be there in the capacity of lobbyists. The very same as Mr. Carney when he was the chair of Brookfield. He was brought in unpaid, but had these personal interests, and so these are shadow lobbyists that we have, and it's a massive loophole, the Carney loophole, and we think it needs to be closed.
There has been questions put to my office in relation to sometimes consultative committees, for example. I'm of the view that for certain CEOs, but for their current employment with their corporation or organization, they wouldn't be sitting at that table. And I have said to them that those need to be registered.
Wonderful. Okay.
So I do interpret it when I'm aware of it and I see names, I communicate with them.